Hi, in this Affinity Designer tutorial, we are going to look at making digital stickers. I will do a separate video on doing print then cut stickers because there's a few little differences in the process right at the beginning and right at the end. So we'll cover them in separate videos. So this one is going to be about digital stickers that you can use in planning apps such as GoodNotes. And that's the one I'm going to be demonstrating is the GoodNotes app. But we're going to start out in Affinity Designer to create our stickers. And so the first thing we need to do is set up our file. So I'm going to go to File, New. So there's no real perfect size that sticker sheets for digital need to be. However, Affinity kind of gives us a little bit of help in that when you go to this drop down up here, you can choose Web presets. Devices presets. And there is an iPad 12.9-inch screen. So that's the iPad Pro. So that's the largest of the tablet screens that anyone is likely to be watching or using your stickers on. So that's the one I'm going to select. Now you'll notice when I select that, it automatically sets my DPI at 144. So in general, screen resolution is 72 DPI. You can use anywhere between 72 and 144. So 144 DPI is recommended for the Retina screens of some of the Apple devices. But if you are not designing for that, then you could do something lower like 96 DPI or even 72. So I'm going to select Create Artboard here. And what that's going to allow me to do is have multiple sticker sheets in a single file. So I don't have to flip back and forth between different files to access different sticker sheets. I can do them all in the same one. The other important thing to set up is over on the color tab here, we want to click transparent background so that when we export our stickers, which will be cropped as individual PNGs, they will have a transparent background and not a white background. We don't really need to adjust anything else. So choose your size. I'm choosing for iPad Pro, and then you can choose Create Artboard. That's optional. If you use one of these device presets, it's automatically going to set your DPI at 144, and then go to the color tab and choose transparent background, and we will create. All right, now we're going to move on to creating the actual stickers. So in this tutorial, I'm going to stick to very basic planner shapes. I will do a separate video where I demonstrate how to do things like banners and washi tape, but that just takes a few more steps. So we're going to just stick to very easy things for this video so that you get an overview of the entire process. So let's start by making a variety of planner stickers. So let's start out with just a simple square. So I'm going to go over to the rectangle tool here, click on that, and then I'm just going to drag out a shape that looks about the correct size for the sticker that I want. And I'm going to make sure that I have no stroke on this. I don't want to have any sort of stroke or outline. And I want the fill color to be something fairly with some good contrast because for some of these we're going to have different areas in there where people can write on it. And what I'm doing at first is essentially setting up a template. So this sticker sheet that I'm showing you here is a template sheet, and I can go in here and I can create stickers with different colors, different fill types from this kind of master sticker sheet, and just keep duplicating that and decorating each of these differently each time I make a sticker sheet. So we're kind of creating a master sticker sheet here that can be decorated later. So I've got my first square here. And so now what I want to do is I want to copy and paste. So depending whether you're on a Mac or a PC, you want to use Command or Control and then C, and then Command or Control V to paste. And you can see here that made a second rectangle. It doesn't look like anything here because it pasted it directly on top. So I'm going to grab one of these corners and just shrink this down a little bit. And then I'm going to change the color so that it's a different color. So let's go up to Fill. And I'm going to go over here to the Swatches tab where I can find just a plain white over here. Then on the Move tool, I'm going to just position it. And let's just position it directly in the middle. Now that looks pretty good. It looks like our border is fairly even, but let's make sure that it's perfect. So with the Move tool still, I'm going to drag over everything, and that has selected both pieces, both squares. And then I'm going to go up here to this thing that looks like a bar graph, and it says alignment when you hover, and click on that. And I want to align it horizontally in the center, and then I also want to align it in the middle here. And it's aligning to selection bounds, so basically this box here. So it's doing it in the middle from the edges of this box. So now it is perfectly centered. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drag over all of it, and I'm going to do Command or Control G to group it. And if you want to, you can also go to, let's see, Layer and Group, and that will do the same thing. So you'll see here now, it kind of put them together in my Layers panel. They're still separate in here, but it's put them in a group. So they're kind of attached to each other so that when I move them around, they don't separate into two separate squares, the gray one or the white one. So now let's make a few copies of this, because if you look at commercial sticker sheets for sale, they often have like the same sticker but in different colors or decorations on the same sheet. So let's create some copies of this. To create multiple copies, we could copy and paste, but there's a kind of a shortcut way of doing that, and that would be to do Command or Control J. So I'm going to do that, and you'll see over here that created another group. I'm going to hold the Shift button and just move that over like that. Now, without touching anything else, I'm going to Command or Control J 2 more times. I can keep holding Command or Control and just hit the J 2 more times. And what that does is it makes additional duplicate copies, and it spaces and positions them exactly like I moved that first one. So it moved it the same amount over, the same amount over. All right, so now to just make sure that this is perfect, we are going to select over all of it, and we're going to go up here to Alignment, and just make sure that we've aligned it vertically to the top, and that's going to make sure that they're all in a nice row. Now, when you have separate objects like this, if you try to align it to the middle, it's going to just stack them all on top of each other. So probably the easiest way to get this centered between the left and right margins is to turn on snapping here, which is this little magnet. And while they're all selected, I can just move them over until I see that green line pop up, which is the center point. So there's my first 4 stickers done. So let's create, let's see, let's just make some simple ones like a star shape. So that shape is already built into Affinity. So here are our shapes. We're going to go down to this one that has the little triangle in the corner, click on it, and that brings a flyout menu of all of our additional shapes. So let's go to the star tool here, and we can just pop out a little star like that. It's probably not going to be as big as a planner sticker because usually these are just used as like a reminder. So we can line that up. So I got snapping on, you'll see the green line pops up. That shows me that I'm exactly in line with the center of this shape above it. Let's go over to Fill, and let's click this darker shape again, just so that it stands out. Now we can make additional copies of this, or we can make additional shapes. So I've already demonstrated how you can duplicate, so you could do the same thing with any of these shapes that we're creating if you want to have more copies. But for the sake of the video, I'm just going to move on to some different stickers. So let's create an arrow. That would be useful. And so I'm going to drag out the arrow tool. And we've got a double arrow here, so we want to change that. So I'm going to go up here where it says ends and click on this, and I want one side to have no end. And then this side I'm going to leave with an arrow. Now everything that's a red dot is adjustable, so you can change what this arrow looks like. And you can also go up here, and I'm just going to put it back to 0 because I liked it the way it was. You can also change the thickness of this. And then you can also take this arrow here and make it a longer or shorter arrow. So let's make it maybe like that. So, and that's probably a little too big for a sticker. So let's do this. All right, so that's another shape you can make. You could do a heart. Let's do a call out. So that shape is pre-made for you, like that. And again, you can change things with these red dots. You can change the direction of this tail. So we could do that. You can also change how wide or tall this is. You can kind of go in here, make it more rounded or more square. So let's do that. And all of these things are also found up here. So if you want to make any adjustments, you can either drag on the red dots or you can come up here. And so this one here, you can see the numbers moving. That is the tail end position. This moves where the tail is. So let's say we wanted to put it in the middle, so more like a location pin. You could do something like that. And then you could take this in a little bit, and then it's more like a map pin. So there's lots of adjustments you can make with those dots or using some of the numbers. And each of these has a drop down and a slider. You have to have it selected in order for it to do anything. So you can play around with making variations of your shape using those tools. So we also have one that's already an oval, so we can do that as well. And actually, let's turn this one back to being a call out like that. And let's make this more like a map pin because this kind of, to me, seems a little bit more like the shape that a map pin would be. And then maybe we want to make a circle in the middle. So let's go over here to the ellipse tool and we'll just drag out a little circle. Let's make it white for the sake of contrast. And then we can take our move tool, move it here, and just kind of make some adjustments. And if you're having trouble getting the size right, go up here and turn snapping off, and then you'll be able to move it more precisely without having it trying to snap into a certain spot. And then if you wanted to, you could grab both of these items, go up to the alignment and align it horizontally to the center. And we don't want to actually do it vertically, just to the center. All right, so that looks pretty good. All right, let's move on and let's do some of these ones that look like little reminders here. And so for the sake of time, I'm going to do, I think, the one here, but with the little binder rings. So let's do that one next. So for this one, you can go either here and pick the rounded rectangle tool, or you can make adjustments on the rectangle tool. I'll just show you how to do that. And let's just make it fairly big for the purposes of demonstration. And what I want to do here is go up to the corners and let's make it rounded. And now we have that same red dot and we can adjust how rounded it is. Let's do something like that. You can also use this drop down slider to accomplish the same thing. So there is our first part of that. Now we need some lines and some little check boxes or circles here. So let's use circles for the check boxes, and we'll just do this. And if you hold shift, you will actually get a perfect circle if you hold shift as you drag things out. Now this one, I actually do want to put a stroke on it. So I'm going to go up to stroke here and choose black. And then I want to come up here and thicken the line a bit. And that's because I want to be able to see it. So let's put that dot here. And maybe we want that a little smaller. So in order to do that a little bit more precisely, because it can get tricky with your mouse when it's really small, I'm going to go to Window, Transform. And then over here, I can see the width and the height of this is 38.6. I'm going to go over to this little chain thing and click on it so that these two are linked together. And then I'm going to highlight one of these by clicking in the square. And then with my down arrows, I'm just going to go down until it's the size I want. Let's do that. All right, and then let's duplicate those. So Command or Control J, and then I'm going to hold Shift while I drag that first one down, and then without touching any other key, Command or Control J one more time to get my third one. Now I want some lines here to write on. So for this, I'm going to go over to the pen tool. And I have a stroke still on here. It's going to make a pretty thick line, but we can always adjust that later. But here in the mode, I want to switch it over here to line mode. And now I can click in a spot with my mouse, hold Shift to make a straight line, and then click a second time where I want the end point to be. Now I'm going to go to the Move tool. We'll select this and do our same thing, Control J. We'll drop it down and Control J again. Now, just to make sure that these are nicely lined up, we can grab both of these, come up here, and let's align them vertically to the bottom. And so that should align each of them to each other. So we can do that for each set of these. And then what we can do is we can group each of these. So I'm going to Command or Control G on each of these. And then once they're grouped, I can grab all three of them, come up to alignment again, and then I want to space them vertically. And that will make sure that they are completely evenly spaced to each other. So the last thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to add these little binder rings on here. And so for that, let's go back to the pen tool, and I'm going to create just a little line. And let's zoom in so that you can see it on the screen here. And I'm actually getting that one's a little crooked, so let's get rid of that one and let's give that another try. So pen tool, let's hold Shift and click two different spots. That gives us a line. So I'm going to go up to this stroke area, and what I want to do is I want to make sure the cap is rounded, and then I'm going to turn up the stroke width just a little bit until it looks about the right size. And that looks pretty good. Now I can put my little binder rings in place. And then I can do the same thing. Command J, hold Shift and pull it down a little bit. Hold Command or Control and hit J 2 more times, and then we've got it. And so now I think what I want to do is click all of these and use my right arrow to just nudge them all over so that they are out of the way. That's a way you can make very incremental changes, is to just select it and hit one of your arrow keys on your keyboard. Now let's go and select, all 4 of these, and we can do the same thing. We can make sure that they are spaced vertically, and let's make sure they're aligned to the left edge so that they are all nicely in a row. All right, so there is that sticker. We'll zoom back out so we can see what it looks like. And now I can go over all of these and Command G to group those as well. And let's do the same over here. And I'm going to group everything together. And when we come to exporting, you'll see why that's actually going to be fairly important. All right, so let's do this one. Let's do a tracker actually for the last one. So we'll do this one here as a tracker. All right, so we'll start out with our rounded rectangle tool and create that first long shape. Let's zoom in again so you can see it. And I'm going to take the stroke off of this. So stroke, no color. And then here I'm going to go to the fill and we'll do our darker color. And let's just make it not quite so rounded. All right, and so the next thing I want to do is I want to duplicate this, copy and paste. So Control or Command C and then Control or Command V to paste. And then we can pop this up, this part down, this part in, and just kind of make it smaller so that people can write what they're tracking here. Now I want these corners to be straight. Let's make this white so we can see it. But I want to keep these rounded so that they kind of match these rounded corners. So what I can do is I can go up here where it says single radius and I can unclick this. Now I have independent control of all four corners. So if I go up here, TL would be top left, top right, bottom left, and bottom right. So I can go over to bottom left and make it none so that it's not rounded. And I can go to bottom right and make that none. And so now we've got square edges here and round edges here. So let's make this a water tracker. So we'll go back to our shapes menu and find the tier tool. We'll draw out a little water droplet. Now getting the size right is a little bit of trial and error. We know we need 7 of these so actually 8 probably for 8 glasses of water. Yeah, that would be good. Let's do 8 glasses of water. So getting the size sometimes is a little bit trial and error, but that looks pretty close. So let's go ahead and duplicate, Control J. And then 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so now we can select all of these and we can kind of stretch them out a little bit, and that kind of makes them all a little bit bigger. And so that can help us to get the correct size and shape of each of these as you kind of change their size as a group. So now that I've got the size about right, I'm going to take this one and just move it over a little bit. I'm going to take this one and let's actually turn snapping back on. And let's line this up kind of to the edge of this one here. Maybe not quite. And something like that. And now I can select all of these shapes, go up to our friend, the alignment tool, and we're going to space them equally horizontally. And now they are all nicely in a row. I'm going to grab everything and select it. Command or Control G to group it. So now we've got that sticker. Okay, so I think that gives you a pretty good idea of how to actually create some simple stickers. So most of them are just made with the shape tool, or if you need some lines, you'll use the pen tool and just make sure that you are on line mode, and then you can just click any 2 spots to create a line. And then the other friend that you need is the alignment tool. So that is found up here, and that helps you to just space things evenly. And a lot of it, besides that, is just copying and pasting. In this next section, we're going to make some text-based stickers. So let's create one that is maybe just a little inspirational saying. So I am going to go down to the text tools. There's a little arrow here in the corner because you've got 2 different text options. You've got frame text. This is good for blocks of text. This creates like a text box. Artistic text tool is better for like just a few words. And so that's the one I'm going to choose. And we'll just drag out a little area. And let's just make a little inspirational message here. And the nice thing about the artistic text tool is we can now adjust the size of this just by dragging on any of the corners. In fact, we can even stretch it out if we want or squish it up. So we can do that. Now, if you've got some letters and you're using a scripty font that don't quite go together, we could just choose, no pun intended, these two letters here, and we could go up to the character, so text and character window. So from this character, we can go to the um, tracking over here, and we can choose the two letters we want to go closer together that have this little gap. And then you can adjust them closer by just choosing a different amount. So this, I think it looks weird to bring them too close together, then they don't look even. So they won't totally touch, but at least it looks a little bit more, um, it looks more better to have these a little bit closer together because there was a bit of a space. So that's a way you can make adjustments to your text if you have too much spacing between just individual letters, which sometimes happens with these scripty fonts. All right, so now most digital stickers and any sticker have kind of a border around it. And so in the past, in the first iteration of this, which I used to have this as a free course, I duplicated this and made the bottom one have a large stroke on it that was white and then put the two on top of each other. I have since discovered better ways to do this. So you may say, well, why don't you just put a stroke on this? So let's take a look at what happens when we put a stroke on it. So I'm going to pull out the stroke window, which you can find under Window Stroke, and we will put a stroke on it. And then I'm going to come down here and we're going to make sure that that stroke is white, and then we can make it bigger. So what happens is that the stroke is kind of in all directions. So we are not just having an outline form along the outside, it's also kind of shrinking away our black as the stroke gets thicker. So let's take that back off, get rid of that. So the other thing you can do is you can come down here to Layer Effects. And so I'm going to click on that. And with this all selected, I'm going to choose Outline. So put a little check mark in there and then also click on it so that this is the one that's selected in pink. And now I can go to Radius, and actually let's change the color first and make it completely white. And then I can take the radius and I can bring it up. And now I have my outline without impacting the size of my writing here. And it's as easy as that to get a nice outline on your text. Okay, so that's how you make text-based stickers. So let's go ahead and add some color to this. So let's start out with these. Now we have two different shapes here with two different colors, and I only want to change the color of the back one. And so that is the one that is the dark gray color. And so you'll remember that I had them grouped together. So I want to mention a couple things here about grouped objects. So if I were to just change this when I've got the whole thing selected, it's going to make the entire thing the same color because it selected everything within that group. So I'm just going to Command Z a couple times to back out of that. That is the undo shortcut. Control Z if you are on a PC. So you have two things you can do. If you have your layers panel here, you can just go to your layers and select the object that you want. And then I can go to the fill and I can choose a color. So let's maybe go with kind of like a nice navy kind of blue color or something like that. All right, so that is the first way that you can add color is just go up to your fill color and choose a new color. All right, so for this next one, I've chosen this group, so I don't want to affect the whole group. I only want to affect this one here. So the second way that you can do this is you can go to the part that you want to select and double click it. And now you can see that that has chosen this particular one that I double clicked on. So we can also go up here and, sorry, we can actually go to this gradient tool here, and then we can draw a gradient on here. And then I can come up here and change the colors that it has. So I'm going to click this dot, choose the color, and let's maybe do like a blue. Choose this one, and maybe we'll make that more of a navy color again, maybe. Yeah, something like that. And then we can change the blend between the two. Yeah, that looks good. Kind of almost makes it look like a little bit of a kind of a chromatic, foily kind of look. All right, the third thing we can do, and I'm going to actually leave this tool on and double click this one so I can see that I've got this black one selected now. And I'm going to come up to context here. So I've got this gradient tool on, but I'm going to go up here to context fill. And so that's going to affect the fill of this. And then for type, I'm going to go to bitmap. That will bring up my File Explorer. There we go. Okay, so that will allow you to pick anything, any image. So it could be a texture, it could be like a gold foil, or it could be a pattern, or whatever you want to put as your background. So those are three ways. You can fill it with a color, you can fill it with a gradient using the gradient tool, and from that same gradient tool, you can choose your type to be bitmap, and that way you can fill it with any old image that you want. All right, so we've got those decorated. I am going to pause the video and add a little bit of color to some of the rest of these. Okay, so I've got most of these colored. I just want to show you a couple additional things. I made this one white so people can write in it and then put a nice big outline on it. So let's do the same thing with this shape here. So I want to have this white rounded rectangle in this group, so you can select that in the layers, or you can double click it like we just did. And then I'm going to go up to the stroke, and we'll add that navy stroke to it. And then to the width of the stroke up here, and just widen it up a little bit like that. So that's one thing. Second thing I wanted to show you is with this text. I can select this text here, and the color for text is up here. And so I can go up here, and in my swatches, it's remembering my gradient. So I can choose this gradient here that we put on that sticker at the very top, and it can make that gradient across all of my text too. So that's kind of a cool little trick that you can do that will give you some interest to your text if you choose to do that. All right, so I think we have got everything ready here. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit, Command and the minus key or hyphen key, and that will do that. So obviously this is a super ugly sticker sheet. It's not totally done, but the point of this tutorial is to give you the basics, and then you can kind of create more stickers for your own sticker sheet using all of these concepts. So the last thing we need to do is we need to export. So what I want to make sure, and I'm going to just kind of collapse with these arrows, all of my different groups, is I want to make sure that everything here is grouped. Okay. Now some of these things like the callouts, there's nothing to group, or the arrows or the stars, there's nothing to group here. But I do want to make sure that everything that has multiple pieces to it, like these, are all grouped together. All right, so next thing we're going to do is we are going to export. All right, in this section, we are going to export our sticker sheets from Affinity Designer. So what a digital sticker is essentially a tightly cropped PNG. So each one of these is going to be its own PNG file. So what we can do is we can create that quite easily by going up here. We're currently in designer persona. We want to go over to this one that has kind of a square with an arrow pointing out of it, and it's export persona. So I'm going to click over to that. And what that has kind of instantly done is selected our entire artboard as a PNG. But I want each of these individual images to also be its own PNG. So I'm going to go over here to the arrow, which is the slice selection tool. And then I'm going to drag over everything to select it all. And you can see that put little nice tight binding boxes around everything. So each of these boxes represents a PNG. Now I'm going to go anywhere and just right click and create slice. And now it has created little PNGs out of each of these. And it's telling you the kind of pixels of each of these so you can see the sizes of them. Over here is our slices window. And I am using a PNG. So you can choose different things, but I'm going to go with PNG as my file type. You can also expand this if you want to do a second file type. You could add a different kind of PNG. You could add a JPEG, whatever you want. I'm just going to X out of that. The other thing you can do is if you're finding the resolution is just not very great when you test your stickers out, you could come back here and you could make it 2x. I tend to not do that just because on a digital sticker sheet, it's usually used on a tablet or a phone. And so you don't want the file size to be too big. But if you are having issues with the resolution, it just doesn't look very clear, go back and re-export it at 2x. So the other thing you'll notice is there's the little dots here. So if they are kind of grayed out, that means that that one is not selected. If you click on it, it is selected. And so what we want to do is we also want to include this one that says background. It's currently grayed out, but I am going to click on it. I don't need to have the whole artboard. It's essentially the same thing as the background, except the background is more nicely cropped. But I'm going to just unclick that and I'm going to make sure all my other slices are selected here, including the background. And then down here, there's a little button that says export slices. Click that. It's going to make me choose where I want them. I'll make a new folder for it and we will export them. All right, so let's go over to our downloads and here's our file. And there's all our stickers all nicely pre-cropped. And we can go ahead and import these into GoodNotes. And I will show you how to set up your sticker sheet. An optional thing that you can do is you can export this also as a PDF. And if you want, if you're going to sell this, you could add your branding to it, and then we'll use that to create your sticker book in GoodNotes. So I'm just going to export a copy of this whole document as a PDF, and then we can bring that into GoodNotes. And the reason I do that is so that I can place my stickers over top each of these, and I can size them using this as a guide. All right, so that's exported. Let's now go into GoodNotes. Okay, so here I am in the GoodNotes app, and so I'm going to select New, and then I'm going to import that PDF that I just exported. So I'm going to find where I saved it, and then open it. And so this will be my template that I am going to add my stickers to. So now I'm going to go to the three dots and choose Split View, and then I can open up my File Explorer in a split window. And that will allow me to just hold on to it and then drag it into my GoodNotes app, and then from there I can resize it. And like I said, I just use the sticker background sheet as a template. And so I'm just going to do a few of these here so that you don't have to watch me do the whole thing. This is a little bit of a tedious process, so it's a good thing to do while you're watching mindless television or something. So we'll just speed things up, and I won't make you sit through watching all of these. So then I can hit the three dots and go back to full screen. And now I'm going to export. So I'm going to hit the share button, export as a GoodNotes file, and then we will give it a name. Choose where we want to save it. And then I'm going to go back to my document list, and I'm just going to move to trash the one that we just made so that we can import the GoodNotes file that we just exported and just test it. So here is what we exported, and you can see that the stickers are there on top of the background and can be picked up and moved around and used in your GoodNotes app. So I hope that was helpful. Thanks so much for watching.